Just 24 hours ago, majority of football fans didn't know the name Taylor Heinicke. You likely only knew his name if you remembered his time at Old Dominion, or if you're a fan of one of the many teams he's been on over the last few years. Well, now he's a household name. After making the start for Washington in the playoffs last night, Heinicke delivered one of the most memorable playoff performances from a quarterback in recent memory. So who exactly is Taylor Heinicke, and where did he come from? Before we get to today's video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications. If you love college football, this is definitely the place for you. Before talking about Heinicke and his incredible performance last night, we have to go back a decade to begin his story. For the 2011 college football season, it looked like Old Dominion backup quarterback Dominique Blackman was considering transferring. The Monarchs suspected that they might need to reload at the quarterback position and do it rather quickly. There was a quarterback down in Georgia who was going to be named the Offensive Player of the Year for the state. You'd think that after hearing that, there would be no way the Monarchs would have any chance of getting him. However, due to his height, Taylor Heinicke wasn't on the radar of many top programs at all. This might have been due to the fact that his senior season was the first year he was ever the starting quarterback for his high school, but yet 8 weeks into the season, he had no scholarship offers. That changed though on an airport shuttle bus when Earl Williams, Heinicke's personal trainer, ran into Alonzo Brandon, who heads Old Dominion's athletic foundation. Taylor Heinicke is a kid you should be recruiting, he told Brandon. He passed on the tip to Whitcomb, the quarterback's coach. Heinicke was lighting up the stat sheet at Collins Hill High. He threw for 405 yards and 5 touchdowns in one game, and then added 450 yards in another. In the quarterfinals, he threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in an overtime win. Heinicke led his Eagles squad on a late 94-yard touchdown march to force overtime in front of 13,000 fans. Heinicke either passed, ran, or caught the ball on every play of the 13-play drive, hauling in the game-tying touchdown pass on a trick play. During his senior campaign, he threw for over 4,200 yards, the second most ever in Georgia State history. He also threw 44 touchdown passes, the third most ever in Georgia State history. Heinicke visited Old Dominion on December 11th and committed to sign just a week later. The computer says that an NFL quarterback has got to be Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, has got to look like that. Well, he doesn't look like that. Old Dominion coach Bobby Wilder said. He doesn't look like Cam Newton. It's not what the computer spits out. But if you go strictly by performance, you say, hey, wait a minute, we better look at this guy. He can flat out play football. I was excited at the time to get him, but none of us saw what was coming. I would be lying to you if I saw a kid who was going to throw for 15,000 yards. Heinicke didn't start for the Monarchs in 2011, but it didn't take long for him to win the job and show that he was truly something special. He was named the 2011 National Freshman Performer of the Year by the College Football Performance Awards. He came in as a true freshman in 2011 as a backup to Thomas DeMarco, a returning starter who ranked 7th in the FCS the year before in total offense and who went on to play 5 years in the CFL. But DeMarco went down to an ankle injury in the 3rd game of the season, and Heinicke took over for the next 4 years. He threw 27 touchdown passes and 1 interception and led Old Dominion to the 2nd round of the playoffs in his freshman campaign. In playoff action, Heinicke set school records with 5 touchdown passes in games against both Norfolk State and Georgia Southern and averaged 307 passing yards in the games. His name didn't appear in the conference or national stats, having not played the minimum 75% of games to qualify. However, if his name did appear and he was able to qualify, his 265 passing yards per game would have ranked 18th nationally, his 160 pass efficiency rating would have been 6th nationally, and his 305 total yards of offense per game would have been 10th nationally. In addition, he also averaged 40 yards rushing per game and had 4 rushing touchdowns as well. After being predicted to finish 10th in the preseason polls, he led Old Dominion to a 10-3 record, a 2nd round playoff berth, and Old Dominion's first appearance in the national polls, a top 10 ranking. After an unforgettable freshman season, tragedy struck for Taylor. Just 1 day before he returned home from winter break, his father Brett died after suffering a massive heart attack. Brett was the dad that on Sundays after we had a home game and he would be up here, he would come in and feed the staff his world famous brats. I'm talking as good of brat as I've ever had in my life, Old Dominion coach Bobby Wilder said. He looked forward to the home games as a coaching staff because he knew that Brett Heinicke was coming in to feed everybody. And that was Taylor's dad, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. The reason Taylor ended up at Old Dominion was largely due to his father. He's the one that got me a scholarship to ODU. He sat there and made a highlight video for me. He mailed it to literally 250 colleges around the East Coast and took me to 10-15 camps each summer, doing whatever he could to get me a scholarship. From there on out, every game was dedicated to his father. Early on in his sophomore season, Taylor Heinicke had the greatest game of his life. He threw for a Division I record 730 yards as Old Dominion rallied to beat New Hampshire 64-61. He set school records for completions with 55, and of course his 730 yards were school record as well. he threw 5 touchdown passes as he led the Monarchs to a 26-point fourth quarter comeback. That fourth quarter included 2 touchdown passes from Heinicke. He also led them on a late drive that produced the game-winning field goal. Of his 55 completed passes, they went to 10 different wide receivers. At that point in the season, there were 9 FBS teams with at least 2 games on their schedule so far that didn't even have a total of 730 yards of offense. Through the first 4 games of the season, he had 1,900 passing yards and 19 touchdowns. The amazing season continued as he was unanimously named the 2012 Dudley Award winner, becoming the 3rd FCS player to ever win the award. The award was named for Bill Dudley, a star player at the University of Virginia and a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It goes to the top football player in the state of Virginia. He also took home the Walter Payton Award, which is the FCS version of the Heisman Trophy. As a sophomore, he completed 398 of 579 passes for over 5,000 yards with 44 touchdown passes while leading Old Dominion to an 11-2 record. He also ran for 500 yards and had 11 rushing touchdowns as well. 4 times that season, he rallied Old Dominion from a second-half deficit. Heinicke set NCAA records for passing yards and completions in his season and led the nation in 6 offensive categories. He also led the FCS in passing yards per game, total offense, points responsible for, and touchdown passes. We've got a great person, someone who's a Dean's List student in engineering, and he's the best football player in the country, Coach Bobby Wilder said. I got to watch this young man break Steve McNair's all-time passing record. I've been coaching for 26 years, and I've never seen anything like the season he had. In the Monarchs' 30-point second-round victory over Coastal Carolina, he threw for 497 yards and tied an FCS playoff single-game record with 6 touchdown passes. He broke the FCS playoff record with 542 yards of total offense. Entering 2013, Old Dominion was making the move from the FCS to the FBS level. They were going to be moving to Conference USA, but had to be an independent team in 2013. Heinicke completed a career-high 70% of his passes. He threw for over 4,000 yards and had 33 touchdown passes, while also adding 350 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. Heinicke became just the 18th quarterback in Division I history to pass for 10,000 yards and rush for 1,000 yards in their career. He finished in the top 10 that season among quarterbacks in passing yards per game, and touchdown passes. His senior year was a little quiet as he threw for 3,400 yards and 30 touchdown passes while adding only 139 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He ended his Old Dominion career ranking 3rd all-time in FBS history with 16,279 total yards of offense, 4th in FBS history with 132 career touchdown passes, and 6th in FBS history with 14,959 passing yards. He also finished his career with 1,320 rushing yards and 22 rushing touchdowns. After an incredible 4 years at Old Dominion, it was time to turn his attention to the NFL draft. No Old Dominion player had ever been drafted, and Heinicke was looking to become the first. However, it looked to be difficult as he wasn't invited to the Senior Bowl or the NFL Combine. He had to bank on his pro day, which would be tough considering he was looking to be a borderline 7th round pick already. 259 players were selected in the 2015 NFL Draft, and not one of them was Heinicke. However, early in the 7th round, the Vikings called to say they hoped to sign him as a priority free agent. Once the draft concluded, he signed a $1.3 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings, marking an upbeat end to what was a depressing day for the Old Dominion quarterback. He impressed early on with the Vikings and won the job of being the 3rd quarterback on the depth chart. He was the only undrafted quarterback in 2015 to make an active roster. The following year, Heinicke was in the news, but for the wrong reason. He kicked in the glass pane of a door during the summer and severed 2 tendons in his foot. He tried to break a window to help his friend get into his own apartment in which they were locked out of. Obviously, what I did was stupid, and it was very self-inflicted. I know it hurt the team. With the whole Teddy Bridgewater thing and trading the 1st round pick, obviously, it didn't help the whole situation. But something I did when I was 23 years old, I don't want that to define me as a person and define who I am for the rest of my life. So I'm just working hard to do something to overshadow that. Heinicke missed his 2nd NFL preseason and didn't resume scout team work until October. It was awful, but the only thing I could do is take mental reps, hear the play call, go through the read and stuff like that in my head, tell myself where I'm going with the ball while reading the defense. I felt I got better doing that as well and felt like I got better mentally. Sadly, his time just never came with the Vikings. He was waived by the team and was placed on the injured reserve in September of 2017. He was released with an injury settlement on September 11th. 2 weeks later, he was signed to the New England Patriots practice squad, but was released in October. Then on November 29th, he was signed to the Houston Texans practice squad. He was promoted to the active roster on December 15th to back up TJ Yates following an injury to Tom Savage. On December 25th, he made his NFL debut against the Pittsburgh Steelers after Yates suffered a concussion. However, after completing his only pass attempt, Heinicke suffered a concussion as well and was replaced by Yates, who had just passed the concussion protocol. In April of 2018, Heinicke was waived by the Texans. Just a few days later, he was claimed off waivers by the Carolina Panthers. During the 2018 season, he appeared in 6 games with the Panthers, including being named the starter for Week 16 against the Falcons after Cam Newton was ruled out for the remainder of the season. In a start against the Falcons, he completed 33 passes for just under 300 yards with a touchdown pass, though he did throw 3 interceptions. During the game, he suffered an elbow injury and was replaced by quarterback Kyle Allen. His injury was significant enough that he was placed on injured reserve in the final game of the season for the Panthers. In March of 2019, he re-signed with the Panthers, but was released during the final roster cuts in August. Heinicke then decided he would take his talents to the XFL. He was selected by the St. Louis Battlehawks in November. However, he never took a snap for the Battlehawks in the limited amount of games before the XFL was canceled due to COVID. The 2020 NFL season looked as if it would go by and Heinicke would be done with football. In early December, Heinicke was taking online classes to finish his Old Dominion degree. As he was preparing for his final 2 exams, he got a call from the Washington football team. It's pretty bizarre. I was taking classes online at ODU and I was getting ready for finals, and I get the call to come up here and quarantine. A week goes by like that, and now I'm here playing in the 4th quarter trying to get into the playoffs. So it's been a bizarre month or two, but again, I wouldn't ask for anything different. Heinicke was signed to Washington's practice squad earlier in December, but was added to the roster after Washington released Dwayne Haskins and with Alex Smith dealing with a calf injury. He was pretty much needed as a backup option, but saw the field quicker than anyone expected. Washington was trailing by 14 against the Panthers when Ron Rivera put in Heinicke. Heinicke drove Washington 65 yards on his first drive, but turned it over on downs. He then capped off an 8-play, 91-yard drive with a touchdown pass to J.D. McKissic. Heinicke hadn't played in the NFL since 2018 when he was with the Carolina Panthers, then coached by Ron Rivera. There's nothing harder than coming out cold. I haven't been on a team in a year and a half and came in the 4th quarter to try to get something done. Heinicke said back in July that he hoped to catch on with an NFL team, but in the meantime planned to return to Old Dominion to finish his degree. He was doing that online until Washington called. Heinicke said that his Old Dominion professors were understanding when he asked them if he could postpone his exams because, you know, he had to go play in the NFL. I had to email them and tell them the whole situation and ask them if I could take them after the season, and they were pretty nice about it. So I'm thankful for that. Didn't have to do a whole semester of work for nothing. Well, the Washington football team made the playoffs and Heinicke remained as the backup quarterback behind Alex Smith. Then, this past Saturday, just hours before kickoff, Smith was announced as inactive. Heinicke would be the starting quarterback for the Washington football team in a playoff game against Tom Brady. He didn't lead Washington to the victory, but he did become a household name and potentially gave himself a second chance at having an NFL career. He completed 26 of 44 passes for 306 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He also had a rushing touchdown, in which was arguably his most memorable moment from the entire game. I deserve to be in this league a little longer. I've been on the other side not playing, and it's not fun. Not as fun as this. I'll take number 4 on my team any day of the week, twice on Sunday, Terry McLaurin said following the game. I hope we're teammates in the future. That dude plays with no fear. He's going to give his players a chance to make plays. He extends plays, he runs, he takes hits. He does everything you ask a quarterback to do in this league. He gave us a chance. Heinicke didn't know that he was going to be the starting quarterback until Ron Rivera told him Friday afternoon. However, Washington decided to keep this decision quiet until several hours before the game. Alex Smith was dealing with a strained right calf, and they didn't want to give Tampa Bay any heads up. To make Heinicke's performance that much more memorable, he suffered an AC joint separation in his left shoulder during his touchdown run. He went to the locker room to have it checked out, but came back out onto the field and didn't even miss a snap. His grit, his willingness to fight, willingness to compete, it definitely motivated the whole team, Kendall Fuller said. Here's what Morgan Moses said. The way he carries himself, he's a true pro. I can't tell you why he was on the street before we picked him up. He has every quality of a player you want. I'm just glad we got him. No words to explain the performance that he had today. He stepped up on a big time stage and I commend him for that. That guy's an awesome player. He has the it factor and you can't teach that. That it factor truly paid off on the series after Heinicke returned from his injury. He led a 75-yard touchdown drive that was capped off by an 11-yard touchdown pass to Steven Sims. Head coach Ron Rivera said that Heinicke earned an opportunity. The only question is, will another team give it to him? Everything that happened in the past month and a half to go out there and do that, I'm proud of myself. Happy the coaches believed in me and gave me the opportunity. I hope I can do it next year. So what are your thoughts on Taylor Heinicke? Do you think that after this performance against Tom Brady in the playoffs that he deserves a chance in the NFL next year? Drop a comment down below and let me know which team you think would be a great fit for him. If you haven't done so yet, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss another video moving forward. Again, if you love college football content, then this is definitely the place for you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.